Hi, this is Little Dwarf playing games while rambling incoherently into a microphone. Why? Well, just because I can. Today I'll be playing Half-Life 2 Episode 1 um, on hard, as usual, and also with the developer commentary because I played this game a couple of times already, and I just think that having it recorded with the dev commentary would make a better kind of souvenir for my weird autistic library of memories. And also, there's probably a lot less material on YouTube with the actual commentary, so if someone doesn't own the game or doesn't want to install it to listen to the commentary, he may benefit from stumbling upon this video. So let, let us start. I hope it will let me to just proceed through the game naturally with the commentary on, despite not having these chapters unlocked, because my saves seem to have not stored themselves properly on Steam or something. But I guess we'll see. Oh wait, damn it, I'm invulnerable to damage. I wonder if all the time? That will not make a great playthrough, I'm afraid. But oh well. I guess I'll see if I'm invulnerable to all damage or only when actually listening to a commentary node.
Welcome to Half-Life 2, Episode 1. We received a great deal of positive feedback on the commentary track in The Lost Coast, and so we've included the same feature in this episode. To listen to a commentary node, put your crosshair over the floating commentary symbol and press your Use key. To stop a commentary node, put your crosshair over the rotating node and press the Use key again. Some commentary nodes may take control of the game in order to show something to you. In these cases, simply press your Use key again to stop the commentary. With episodic content, we're hoping to release games much more frequently than has
Yeah,
been possible with a monolithic development schedule of the past.
that didn't exactly
Game
work
developers
out.
and game customers have been wanting to try this for years. Please let me know what you think after you've had a chance to play this, our latest installment in the ongoing adventures of Gordon Freeman. I can be reached at gayben@valvesoftware.com. Thanks, and have fun.
Tell me, Dr. Freeman, if you can. You have destroyed so much. What is it exactly that you have created? Can you name even one thing? I thought not.
We used an upgrade of the refractometer from Half-Life 2 to make the Vortigons warp into the intro. The major difference is that this time we are only refracting pixels that come from the Vortigons themselves. We placed a large sheet of refractive geometry in front of each Vortigon to achieve this effect.
This intro sequence establishes some important initial pieces of Episode 1's story and setting. Our earlier versions of the intro sequence were heavy on graphic effects and relatively light on storytelling. When we showed those early versions to playtesters, they thought it was cool, but rarely had any idea what was supposed to be happening. We went through several iterations, each time simplifying the editing and tightening up the effects. We eventually arrived at a good middle ground between the sort of psychedelic look we were shooting for and basic comprehension of what was actually taking place.
We'll see about that.
He has to be somewhere around here. Close to something. Any luck with that dog?
It's cool how the eyepiece is sort of
Drop what you're doing
almost
and help me over.
it almost
Oh my
reflects
God.
emotions to a certain degree, even though he's a robot.
I'm so worried. Hey, the gravity gun. Give it to him, dog.
Okay.
There, Gordon. Dog's happy to see you. I can tell. Okay, dog. Go get the monitor set up so we can check in with my dad. He must be worried sick about us. He was so sure I wouldn't find you here. The Citadel's really coming apart. I still don't know how we got out of there. The last thing I remember is Green falling. Huge explosion, and then I heard vortigons. Next thing I knew, Dog was digging me out of the rubble. Oh, it's all so strange. We should... It's my dad. We've been trying to reach him for hours.
And listen to all of the commentary
Players
first.
love Dog.
Wait till he hears
We
that we
made sure that
found
he was
you.
the first thing you see when you wake up in episode 1. We also wanted players to get a glimpse of the crippled Citadel. When Dog lifts you out of the rubble, it's one of the few instances in the game when we take control of the player's view. This allowed us to ensure the player's view lingered briefly on the Citadel before Dog set them down.
Since we never take control away from the players, it can be a real pain to get them to notice important environmental events. It's a constant design challenge for us. The Citadel will be erupting in a massive light show that took 10 of us 2 months to orchestrate, and if we're not careful, the player will end up facing the other direction staring at a tire. In this case, to establish that the Citadel is coming apart at the seams, we wanted the player to notice the debris falling off of it. We used a pretty straightforward method here. Alex explicitly mentions the Citadel while pointing at it. Like most of these solutions, it's not foolproof, but it has a high success rate.
Yeah, I find all this commentary, I find this idea of providing developer commentary to actual pieces of the level really interesting, and it showcases how difficult designing
This area
games
was
can be from.
redesigned several times in order to keep the player in this space while Alex delivers some exposition. As much as we hated to do it, the final solution was to have Alex climb out while the player looks for an alternate route. We portray Alex as more athletic and nimble than Gordon, so players shouldn't get too irritated by the fact that she can get to places they can't. Honestly, we're not especially happy with this crutch, but it's a trade-off we sometimes have to make so that we can get Alex out of the way of interesting player challenges.
The Citadel is supposed to be a building of unprecedented scale. So out of scale with the rest of the world, in fact, that we couldn't render it without our 3D skybox technology. This technology allows us to build the Citadel as a 1/16th scale model off in an unreachable corner of the map, and seamlessly merge it into the scene. We also use this technology to create the illusion of vast spaces and parameters.
Okay, I'm wondering if all the damage is disabled, because if yes, then maybe playing the game wouldn't really be that much fun if I can just get shot at indefinitely, or if it's only disabled if I'm actively listening to a commentary node. I guess I will have to wait a little to find out.
Dad, are you there?
Alex, come in.
Hold on a sec, there's so much interference. Hey, Dog, give me a hand with this.
It's really cool how he
Little to the right.
acts as
There
an
we go,
antenna
right
of
there.
sorts.
We got it. Dad,
Alex, where are you? Please, God, tell me you're out of the city.
well, not quite yet.
What?
But listen, Dad, we found him.
You found Gordon? I don't believe it. But listen, you two have to get out of the city. The Citadel could blow at any moment.
There's no question that it will, I'm afraid. Our remote sensors indicate the process is accelerating toward a dark energy flare. Anyone left in the vicinity will be subjected to energetic events whose effects are beyond my powers of speculation. The ravages to cellular material are unimaginable.
Stop!
Dad?
Oh dear, Eli, I'm sorry, but surely there's no need for undue alarm. Alex is well out of harm's way by now.
Well, actually, we're still at the Citadel.
What? Oh dear, but there's really no time. The core is exceedingly close to collapse. Why, there's no way to get far enough without first... Well, nothing short of a direct intervention in the core could possibly retard the reaction.
You mean going in?
Into the core, yes. But it's far too dangerous to consider. The chamber will be bathed in radiation.
Well, you do have the hazard suit. If we found a way into the Citadel, it's possible we could...
Alex, no!
But Dad!
Izzy, talk some sense into her!
I'm sorry, Eli, but I don't see any other way. It would help us evacuate more citizens.
We can do this, Dad.
Okay, Alex, okay, just promise me. Promise me that you won't take a single unnecessary risk.
I promise. I love you.
I love you too, baby. I'll be praying for you.
Don't worry. I'll see you soon. Yeah. Don't worry. Let's see if we can find a way into the Citadel from somewhere along the rim.
Right off the bat, we needed to hammer home
Dog,
some
a
story
little help,
points,
please?
reintroduce the cast of characters, and explain the player's immediate goal. It was a pretty intimidating jump of non-interactive exposition. We generally approach these scenes by writing way too much, and then through constant playtesting, trimming the scene to more manageable levels.
Okay, boy,
But in this
pack
case,
up and
even
meet us
after
on the
some
far side
heroic
of this
pruning,
ridge.
the opening scene still felt too long. We ended up splitting the introductory sequence into 3 scenes,
What a drop.
separated by some gravity gun
After
puzzle
you,
solving,
Gordon.
and then a dramatic walk across a crumbling ledge.
Careful.
When we designed the Half-Life 2 facial system back in 2000, our goal was to get a natural-looking performance at a moderate distance. Given our real-time polygon and texture budgets, we chose fairly reserved or constrained performances over ever having the actors' faces get into a bad-looking or unnatural expression. For Episode 1, we wanted to extend the character's facial system to support more intense performances with a wider range of facial expressions that would hold up better at close range. These facial improvements included increasing the detail around the eyes and mouth, increasing the number of facial shape targets, think of these as movements of muscle groups, by about 50%, rewriting the rules that control how these shapes blend, and increasing the intensity of many of our existing shapes. In addition, we added support for controlling the amplitude of the facial movement for lip sync animation, which let us dampen or amplify the mouth shapes based on the volume or intensity of the dialogue.
Monitor scenes are especially difficult to make interesting, since they tend to involve literally just talking heads. By interweaving critical expository information, like how dangerous the Citadel has become, with some dramatic character interactions between Alex, Eli, and Dr. Kleiner, we were able to convert a potential liability into one of the strongest scenes in the game. A great way to illustrate characters' relationships to each other is to have one of the characters in danger and show the other's reactions to it, which is what this scene is all about.
Sometimes we need to keep the player in an area so that we can deliver some critical dialogue or run an important sequence of events. In these cases, we temporarily block the player's path using what we call a gate. These gates generally take the form of some obstacle that can only be removed or opened by some character or event. In this case, the obstacle is a crashed gunship that can only be moved out of the way by Dog. Though the final scene looks pretty straightforward, a lot of care had to be taken to make sure that Dog hit his marks and played his sequences without trampling and damaging the player.
Yeah, I guess it would be annoying if he just accidentally killed me or something.
Alex travels through much of Episode 1 with the player, and consequently passes through a wider variety of lighting conditions than she did in Half-Life 2. This meant that we had to improve the quality of the lighting algorithms used on Alex to look realistic in any situation, from the eerie hallways of the Citadel to the streets of City 17 at sunset. For this episode, we added a specular lighting term to the shaders used on Alex, which provides a realistic shiny look to her skin, her leather jacket, and even her teeth. In these new lighting calculations, we chose to specifically emphasize bright highlights caused by illumination from grazing angles. This type of lighting, also referred to as rim lighting, is particularly dramatic when coming from low-angle light sources such as this bright sunset. You'll also note that the rim lighting is further enhanced by our high dynamic range post-processing, which causes the specular highlights to bloom in a striking and dramatic fashion. We have found that the move to an episodic development cycle allows us to take advantage of the fast pace of graphics hardware innovation by incrementally adding new features, such as Alex's new lighting techniques, to the source engine with each new episode.
Okay, let us jump down.
This ledge is a really tricky spot for us to navigate. While we wanted Alex to be able to maneuver dynamically through any complex environment, in certain navigation situations we're faced with a trade-off between flexibility and visual quality. In this particular case, she navigates the ledge with a combination of AI and scripted animations. We've continued to evolve the systems of Half-Life 2 whereby characters move fluidly through dynamic AI and scripted navigation, but ultimately what matters most is how it looks to the player.
I must say, the range of animations and the way Alex acts as an ally throughout this episode is really like well done, and you don't often feel annoyed at her, which is unfortunately something that happens a lot when you have friendly NPCs in games. But she's like really well done, and you can see they spend a lot of time on this.
When the idea to have you and Alex sit in a van and then have Dog toss it across the gorge was first suggested during the ball meeting, everyone thought it was funny.
Oh my god, Dog!
Curious.
Dog!
First off. As the design progressed,
Dog, are you
though,
all
we
right?
kept coming back to the van idea. And eventually, everyone agreed we should give it a try. Even though the idea was kind of outrageous, it satisfied some key goals we had for the scene. Alex and the player get across the impassable gorge, and Dog is able to play a key role in the mission, while also plausibly getting left behind. There were still some problems to solve, though.
It's cool how he's
Attaching
thinking.
animated models to the van was tricky, and making sure the van didn't kill the player took some thought, and it took a number of tries before we were able to really illuminate Dog's thinking, as he went from testing his idea with chunks of debris to finally presenting the plan to Alex. Ultimately, we were able to create a scene that solved some tricky game design issues, provided an intimate view of the relationship between Alex and Dog, and delivered a surprising and visceral entrance to the Citadel.
There has to be a way to get across. But how? What about... Dog? Dog, where are you going? Was it something I said? Huh? Dog, what are you... I think Dog needs a few bolts tightened. Look out! Dog, really, that was a little close. What's gotten into you, huh? How exactly is this supposed to help us? Wait a minute.
It's really funny how the door comes off.
Well, Gordon, unless you have a better suggestion, he is a robot. He's done the math.
That's really ridiculous.
I want you to get out of here as fast as you can. Go find Dad. We'll catch up. Don't worry.
For an FPS, Half-Life, Half-Life 2, obviously, really has pretty well developed characters, and they all are sort of distinct. Even Dog, who is like a robot, he has a character of his own, sort of.
It's really important to us to create scenes that showcase strong relationships between our characters. The relationship between Alex and Dog seems to be especially satisfying to players. In the scene leading up to the van toss, we had a bug before the animation was complete, where Dog's head would shake as he looked back at Alex. A happy accident. His head shook right after she asked him, "You did do the math, right?" In playtests, players thought this was intentional and always laughed.
Yeah.
Because of that, we worked it into the animation, and it ended up being a terrific little moment between Dog and Alex.
Okay, so let's get into the van.
Brace yourself, Gordon. Okay, Dog, let's do it. Before I change my...
It's a pretty cool scene as well.
Careful, hold on. Whoa. Phew. Whew. Good throw, dog. Now go, boy, go on. You'll be fine, just... Uh-oh. What now? Whoa. Hold on. Phew. All right, let's get off before the next ride starts.
Okay. Now what I want to test is whether I take damage at all. But I'll have to wait some before some actual enemies appear, so I guess if not, then I maybe restart from a particular point. Or I'm not sure yet.
To convey a sense of urgency, we originally designed Alex to nag the player pretty frequently. She'd say things like, "Hurry up, keep moving." Whether or not this created a sense of urgency is debatable. But after about 3 minutes of this, the one thing it definitely did was make the player hate Alex. This was one of the observations that eventually led us to switch Alex from generally leading the players to almost always following. Through playtesting, we discovered that players much preferred to set the pace themselves, and that they especially disliked virtually any hint of bossiness from Alex.
Yeah, I tend to agree that, I am the one with the brain, however poorly I may be using it, but she's just an NPC and I wouldn't like her to tell me what to do and to nag me, because, generally I think people dislike sections with an NPC ally because they tend to limit you in many ways. Okay, I guess it's not here. Are we going?
You ready? My God, this place is really coming apart. This is unbelievable. I had no idea. Oh, what a drop. We gotta find a way down to the core. I wish we had a map.
We populate our environments with spots where players can take a break to look out over an expanse of cool scenery. We call these vistas. This particular vista was designed to give anyone familiar with the Citadel interior from Half-Life 2 a good view of what it looks like now that everything's falling apart. The pods that are sliding off their track and into the abyss really sell the idea that the Citadel is half abandoned and in chaos.
In an early version of this map, Alex led the player through the whole thing. To make Alex seem less omniscient, we had her access a console here to get her bearings. It exploded, which helped drive home the point that the Citadel was in bad shape, but generally, it was a long pause in the action without a lot of payoff. After we made the high-level decision to have Alex follow the player, this entire scene became irrelevant. We happily cut the whole thing.
Oh my God. Stalkers. Well, they shouldn't bother us if we leave them alone. I'll just disable this field and... Damn, I can't get this down. Something... It's that stalker. He's holding it from the other side. We don't have time to look for another way around. How are we gonna get through here?
Training is one...
They could help us get out of here. Can you find where those roller mines are going? I've got an idea how to use one here.
Yeah, sure, but...
Training is one of the fundamental tenets of our design philosophy. Before the player is required to utilize some new game mechanic, or new weapon, or face a new monster under pressure in a dangerous situation, we always introduce the concept in a relatively calm, but ideally still entertaining way. This entire scene teaches the player that Alex can convert roller mines so that they can be used as a friendly weapon. Later, the player is required to do this in more pressing circumstances, but at this point, everything's still pretty calm. In the original design, the player retrieved the roller mine from the dispenser and used it to take out a combine soldier who was holding the field from the other side. Eventually, we scrapped that idea and combined the roller mine training with some stalker exposition that originally occurred in a separate scene.
In a good puzzle, the player is presented with an overall goal, and then faces a number of smaller challenges in pursuit of that goal. In the case of the stalker puzzle, we start with, how do I open the door? From there, we move to, how do I get to the stalker? Then, how do I get to the roller mines? How do I get the roller mine back to Alex? And finally, how do I use the roller mine to disable the stalker?
Yeah, so a little afraid that I would fall to my death, but I guess they wouldn't want to kill me at such an early stage of the game. Okay, I think I only need one. Is this one like disabled? I'm not. Ah, right, it re-enables itself after a while. Oh, and this elevator actually brought me all the way up here anyway.
Oh, you found one. Dad taught me how to reset the targeting system on these things. A little extra juice in the right spot, and it's on our side. I'll hold it out where I can work on it. There it is. It's a lot more unstable, but it should last long enough to take out these stalkers.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate that we have to kill them because they are basically crippled prisoners, pretty much.
Let's go.
So I need to blow up, I think, after a while. The stalkers also have a pretty creepy design. Like, I'm not sure why they removed their... I guess removing their feet might have something to do with making it more difficult for them to escape, but if you ask me, it seems a little excessive.
We wanted to create an atmosphere of urgency in the Citadel, with Alex and the player focused on getting to the core to stop the impending collapse. Initially, we tried to reflect that urgency through Alex's behavior and acting. This proved to be unsustainable, however. If the player didn't choose to advance, Alex eventually ran out of lines or animations and was forced into her very non-urgent idle states. We found that the best approach was for Alex to have such implicit trust in and sympathy with the player that she's always content to proceed at whatever pace the
I didn't expect this guy to be
Once we adopted
disintegrated like that.
lines where Alex sounded impatient or frustrated with the pace of progress quickly stood out and were cut.
In an early version of this map, Alex led the players.
Ah, it's the...
Soldiers.
Yeah, what I'm wondering is if the combat will work properly with the commentary on.
We created a new Citadel.
How are we gonna get through that? Good thinking.
We created a new Citadel destruction set of broken Combine panels and prefabs for the interior spaces to help make the Citadel look like it was on the verge of exploding. We also introduced a strong ambient orange color to help sell the fact that the Citadel was in a much different state from the last time we passed through. The orange atmosphere was justified due to all the fires and smoke inside the Citadel.
Well, that was random. Talk about unstable.
Yeah.
I really don't think we should hang around.
primary goal of the first Citadel map is
we gotta cross through that? I'll be right behind you.
The primary goal of the first Citadel map is to communicate to players that the Citadel is falling apart. The Vortex was a late addition to the map, in an effort to beef up the idea that the Citadel was becoming a very dangerous place. We have particular difficulty in conveying the danger zone here. In early playtests, players thought that the entire bridge was dangerous at all times. Some additional effects work helped let players know where the dangerous areas were. We would have loved to base more gameplay on this Vortex idea, but we just didn't have the time.
Okay. Oh, she actually waits for the proper time to follow. I wondered if she would maybe just be... Although, I guess she was kind of immune to that anyway. And I think I will get the upgraded gravity gun for a while. In the beginning somewhere. But what I still don't know is if damage works properly.
What went on in here?
Ah, it's the advisors.
What are those things? Maybe this console has some useful information. Let me see if I can pin down a path to the core.
I can still deliver Earth, but not without your help. The portal destination is untenable. Surely you can set the relay elsewhere. There's no way I can survive in that burn.
Thank God, it's just an older core.
A host body? You must be joking. I can't possibly. Oh, all right.
Let me see
Damn
if
it,
we
that's
can
what it
find
takes. Just hurry. He's right behind me. Oh, shit.
What the hell?
Maybe I should have listened to the...
What the hell was that thing?
We revealed the pod here to let players see it up close. At the same time, we didn't want players to get too good a look at what's inside. An old version of the scene had the pod simply hanging from the ceiling. It would burst open and then charge up your gravity gun, but not do much else. The current scene gives us a much more dramatic reveal of the pod, and an opportunity to introduce the mind blasts it's capable of emitting. Though they don't play a large role in Episode 1, these guys were a functional requirement of Episode 2, which meant we effectively had to ship a piece of that episode early.
We decided this space needed to look unique and appear to have more significance than the rest of the Citadel areas the player had already traveled through, while at the same time feeling as though it was still made with Combine technology. This room introduces a story point that plays a big role in Episode 2, so the player has to feel like something important is going on in here. A different fog setting, as well as different light styles and configurations, helped achieve this. The red lighting is a good contrast to the traditional blue-green colors of the Citadel.
It's important that the player has some empathy for Alex, rather than seeing her as just a bullet-spitting robot. The brief recovery scene after the pod mind attack reminds the player
really
that
cool how
Alex
she
is also affected
covers
by
her
it.
eyes when you shine a flashlight at her. It makes her feel more natural. Yeah, I think this is the part in which I get the upgraded gravity gun. Yeah, kind of. Okay, I still don't know if I can get damaged, which is a little uncomfortable for me because I'm still not sure if I want to play the game the normal way and have some challenge, or simply listen to the commentary.
The Lightbridge ball sockets are a clear example of our training approach to gameplay elements. We train the players with a leading example, confirm they understand the concept, then switch up the problem set and make them in a new way. The first bridge shows players the solution. The second one confirms they understand it, and the third, knowing they understand the gameplay mechanic, challenges them in a new way using that mechanism. Impending destruction is a recurring theme in the series. From a story, mood, and visual standpoint, these changes. The destruction needed to feel natural rather
Can I get damaged?
Showing destructive events dynamically makes the player assume the level of damage is static. However, if the events are too often triggered by player movement, the destruction feels...
Yeah, I can't now because I'm listening to it, but yeah, ordinarily I can, which is actually good. Which is good because as long as I don't cheat the as long as I don't cheat with the comments, it should allow me to combine. Actually having, you know, the commentary on, but also having those gameplay elements, you know, still in place when I want them. So that is very, very good indeed. Okay, that was maybe not the best place to save. I will wait with accessing the commentary until all the enemies in a given location are eliminated. Can I pull the energy ball off maybe? Oh, that's... I'm actually getting my ass kicked a little for not being careful.
Having trained the player that balls fit into sockets, we wanted to introduce a puzzle where the question was how to get the ball into the socket. The puzzle we came up with involved a socket with an object blocking it, so that the player would have to ricochet a ball in place. This sounded simple until we actually tried to implement it. If we made the covering opaque, playtesters didn't realize that there was a socket behind it. When we made it translucent, they often didn't see it was there, and were confused when their shot bounced off. Making it movable was a red herring, making people think that they could actually knock it away. A couple of subtle art changes helped. We added some more prominent shadowing and made the glass panel flash when it was hit with a ball. Some playtesters consistently searched for a position to get a direct shot, which we didn't discourage as an alternate solution.
Okay. Oh, so you actually can. You can go here. Or at least I think so. Yeah, but I suppose the correct way, the quote-unquote correct way, was to bounce it off somewhere, but it ain't stupid if it works, after all. Okay, I'll check if there's something here, maybe. Although I don't think so, because pretty much all the soldiers and whatnot, they disintegrate when hit with the operated gravity gun. Okay, I listened to this commentary note and I think that will be a good place to end the first episode.
There are some little practical details that take a surprising amount of time and testing to get just right. For instance, it took us many playtests to figure out just how fast Alex should move. It turns out that her falling behavior looks and feels the best when she's moving faster than the player's normal speed, but slower than the player's sprint speed.
Okay, so I'll stop here and let me just save and see you in the next one. Bye.